You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Podcast.
Welcome to Ride With Me, episode 97. Today is July 15, 2023, and I want to start by apologizing to my listeners because I did say at the beginning of the year that I was going to record more often, and I haven't. It's just life has happened. My boys are getting older, and one of them's about to be 16, soon to be 18, so I'm trying to spend as much time as possible with them before they grow up, get jobs, and leave the nest. Today's guest is my new friend from TikTok, Stepheny.
Hi, everybody.
So, Stepheny, let's get to know you. ¿Cómo estás today?
Good. I'm good. Just woke up this morning and have a cup of coffee.
Well, I want to thank you for getting on and respecting my time because it's 4 a.m. out here. And you're like, yeah, I'm up. Let's go.
Yeah.
The sooner I get it going here, the cooler it is in my garage. So I thank you for being up. I mean, you're 2 hours ahead, but I woke up at 4 a.m. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Forgot about that part.
I want to thank you for that because it is right now. It is already warm. I am already sweating. I was wearing a hat. If you notice, I took it off. I have to wear a long sleeve shirt. I have to wear pants because if not, I will be eaten alive by mosquitoes. And I can't turn on the zapper because then we're gonna hear. Bzz, bzz, bzz. I can't turn on the fan because we're gonna hear the fan in the background. So it is what it is. But let's get to know Stepheny before we get going. Stepheny, you are in Texas, I believe, right?
Yes, in Texas, outside of San Angelo, Texas.
The farthest I've gone to Texas is only El Paso. I have family that lives there. My grandma lived there. She passed away 2 years ago, coming this December. And I haven't really gone out there since. Well, I went to her viewing, but I haven't gone out there since. My brother, who lives out there, does he drives for like it's not a UPS, it's not a Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
but he's like a truck driver in a van, and he delivers stuff and stuff. So right now he's actually in town, so I'm taking advantage that he's sleeping also, so to record a podcast. But that's the farthest I've gone to Texas is El Paso.
No, Texas. I love Texas. I don't know. I don't want to leave Texas.
You don't want to leave Texas?
No.
Well, it seems like a lot of Californians are leaving California to go to Texas.
Yes, I've heard of that.
My wife has. I've seen some houses on the internet, and she's like, "Look at this house. Look at this house." I'm like, "What's wrong with them?" She's nothing, but they're in Texas. I'm like, "Well, let's go."
It's nice here, so I don't know.
So how was it growing up in Texas?
Hot. Hot, but it's nice. It's beautiful. I mean, of course, the animals and just the air and the freedom. Just a lot to do.
Nice. And I believe you said you have you went to school though, but in Arizona.
Yes, but I did it online.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes.
so you didn't physically go.
No.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beautiful thing about nowadays, right? You can just do everything online.
Yes, I did it online because I have a son with special needs, so that requires me to be at home.
Oh, okay. Is that your only son?
No, I have 3 boys.
3 boys.
Yes.
Wow. Your hands full, right?
Yeah, I have my hands full.
So when I woke up and I was ready to start recording, I text Stepheny. I told her, hey, let me just finish cleaning the bathroom because with teenage boys, when you open the door and a slap of ass hits you in the face,
I've read that. But yeah,
you gotta do something about that. And it's because we do take turns cleaning the bathroom, because my wife refuses to go in that bathroom. She goes, "That's your guys' bathroom," and the boys' bathroom. And so we'll take turns. One weekend, my boy would clean it. Next weekend, the next boy would do it. I think it was my turn anyways, but I've neglected it for like 2 weeks. So, yeah. Growing boys can smell.
If you put vinegar in the toilet, that works.
Really? Okay.
Yes, it keeps the smell away and the rings away.
For how long?
Forever. If you put vinegar, every other day or something.
Really? Okay.
Mm.
All right. Vinegar
Yep.
it is. Write that down.
Yeah, I always put it. Always
Okay.
have a bottle on the side of the toilet.
Yeah. Nice. So what else is there to get to know Stepheny? What do
Well,
you have a farm, right?
yes, have a farm, and of course, you saw that on my TikTok. I have lots of animals, and so we live, like I said, we live outside of Carlsbad. Well, San Angelo, which is a small town of Carlsbad. I don't know how many people that is. So it didn't really like. Not really curious either, so kind of stick to myself. But yes, in Carlsbad, there's so many people, and we have animals like chickens and pigs, and did have a turkey, but it passed.
Oh,
And so, but not that way. It like got sick and died,
not
and
for
we buried
Thanksgiving?
it. No. Once we name our animals, that's it.
I heard that's the
Like,
rule of thumb.
yes. So that once we name them, like you cannot slice them. I guess that's what you would say. So yeah, and basically we name all of them.
Yeah, I think that's the same way we had right here. We ended up getting a cat. My wife hates the cat. I'm like, but we named it already. You know, we can't.
Yeah,
So my kids, every time there's like so the squirrels all have a name outside, and I think there's like Jeff, there's Fred, I think there's a Frank, and then they have two turtles. They named them. Well, I'm the one that takes care of the turtles now. We have two dogs, and then and there was this really massive weed that grew up. They grew outside their window,
uh-huh.
and I don't know why they liked the name Jeff, but the name was the Jeff. So one day I went back there, and I'm telling you, this thing was as high as the ceiling, the roof, and so I started chopping it down. They weren't in town, and they went to go visit their biological mother. So I'm chopping this thing down, and then I get to the root, and it won't come out. Steph, I dug a hole that was at least 2 feet deep, and I couldn't
Oh my
get to the
gosh.
root. So it took me an hour and a half to pull this weed out of the ground, and I ended up just getting my scissors and the garden with scissors, got in there as far deep I could into the ground and cut it off. And I sent my boys a picture, and that's the first thing they said was, "No, Jeff." I told them I had to go. Dad, that weed gave us shade in the room, like because the sun
Yeah.
does beat down on their two windows, and I killed their shade. And I'm, oh man, I'm sorry, dude, it's gotta go. That thing was massive.
Yeah.
I think when we first moved here, because this is my mother-in-law's property, so we moved here, and they had this similar weed in the backyard, but that thing was so big, it looked like a tree. It
Oh, I
was,
would have kept
and it took me a while to start chopping that guy down. I'm like, wait, this is not a tree. What? Oh, hells no, it's got to go. And yeah, weeds get pretty strong
Oh
out here.
yeah. Yes, they do. They do get pretty big. So I would have
So,
decorated it as a Christmas tree.
what happened?
I would have decorated it as a Christmas
Oh,
tree.
trust me, if my wife could, she would decorate the massive tree in the house. We have a really big tree that gives shade, and I was telling her just the other day, I'm like, you know what? The last time we trimmed it was 2 years ago. We have to do that again. And she's like, but your son's got a barbecue thing, a birthday celebration in a couple weeks. We can't do that now. No, we got to do it in October because it looks heavy. It's got
Uh-huh.
massive branches and leaves, but it does give off some nice shade. In fact, when my brother comes in to visit, that's where he parks. He parks right underneath that tree, so that he's in the shade. It's good, but it's
Yeah.
got to go. But they said the best time to chop down a tree, clean up a tree, is in October. That way, by summer, it's
It's
it's full grown and
ready to,
everything.
yes.
So, what else is there to know about staff
Well,
besides weeds and trees?
yeah. Well, we have this farm. It's about 4 acres or so, and so it's a lot to keep up with still. I mean, I know there's bigger farms out there, but when you're it's, of course, it's me and my wife and 3 boys. And so she's always gone. So she's ahead of she goes off detail as a mail carrier, not a mail carrier, but like I don't know what you would call her title. So she's ahead of like a post office in every little place here and there. So she's off in every little town. So right now I think she's in Midland.
Oh, wow.
So, and then the next place she'll be in Ozona. So she's gone for weeks. So it's just me and the kids most of the time. And so I take care of everything here.
So that keeps you busy on TikTok.
Yeah,
that explains the 20 TikToks I get a day.
Yeah. And the animals.
No, yeah, I always see you interact with your animals on your TikTok videos.
Yeah, and everybody gets to know my animals like more in the personal way because they know Pablo and Cotton Ball, and they know all their names, and so it's fun. And yeah, they get to know all their like personalities and stuff, so it's interesting.
I did, one video I saw that you were cleaning where the pigs hang out.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, hope I don't slip.
Oh
as you're filming.
Yeah, so I was like, that's the first time I filmed me cleaning because it's real muddy in there. And of course, you're talking about like pig poop and, you would think it smells, but it really doesn't. But I know what's in there.
I guess as long as you know what's in there, you're good, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, I do not want to fall. I don't want to fall in this mess. I could just see myself, but the pigs love to play all the time, and so I have to go in there and mess with them once in a while.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I couldn't. We had chickens when we first moved in here, and we even have the cage. And the cage is nice and big. Where when fireworks start going off, that's where I put the dogs because they freak out, and they're both huskies. And one of them's an Alaskan Husky, so she chews through everything. So I might, sorry people that are listening, sorry Paul, I know I'm a bad dog owner. I put him in the cage, and recently Max, he's a Siberian Husky. Recently he caught on, and he's been living. I've had him for 6 years now, and he's caught on that if he goes to the cage, he's fine. So during the 4th of July, he wasn't scratching at the door. I came out to look. I'm like, where the hell's the dog at? He put himself in that cage. But yeah, when we first moved in here, my father-in-law had chickens and he had like 3 goats, and I'm like, nah, Suero, I'm not taking care of your goats, dude. They gotta go. Wherever you got them, take them back. But now I miss those goats. Now I miss those goats because freaking weeds get about as tall as me. And I hate doing yard work, but we had chickens, and he got rid of most of them, but it was like one rooster left. So there's a bike trail not that far from here. So my kids and I would start going on this bike trail, and we noticed that there's this farm. They have horses, they have cows, they have chickens. And when I asked one of the guys, hey man, I have a rooster at the house. You guys want him? He goes, oh yeah. People that have chickens and roosters, 3/4 of these chickens and roosters, we didn't even buy. People just dropped them off. I was like, okay, so do you want another one? He goes, go ahead and bring them. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we caged them up and we drove them. It's not that far from here. We drove them over there. And the guy's like, yeah, just let him go. I'm like, all right, cool. We opened the cage and let him start walking. Within 2 minutes, he's fighting with another rooster. I'm like, oh, shit. And the guy said, no, let them fight it out. I'm like, but they're going to kill each other. He goes, no. They don't have the hooks. They're good. Let them fight it out. Which one's the more macho? And then once they figure that out, they'll stop fighting. And my daughter's crying because she's like, no, he's going to kill him. Get in the car and let's go. You don't have to see this. Let's go.
That's my son.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Pablo's going to kill him. Pablo's going to kill Cotton Ball. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Nick. Those are roosters.
What's his name? Your son's
Pablo.
name? Your son's name?
Oh, no, my son Nicholas.
My son is Nicholas also.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to turn 16 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Nicholas. He's going to turn 10.
He's going to turn 10? Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. You got 3 more years to teenage years.
And
then once they get there, hold on to your seats.
Oh, I know. My oldest already moved out, and went through his first breakup,
Oh
and
no.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just like,
my son hates haircuts, and I walked in.
mine does too.
Oh my God, why?
Yeah.
Why do they hate him?
Well, it's really a texture thing. They don't like the feeling of people touching their heads or their hair, when they
Yeah.
cut it. So it's really, well, my son has ADHD, so it has to do with that,
Well,
in my opinion.
what happened what happened was the little miscommunication. So my wife texted me yesterday and she says, "Hey, my dentist appointment was switched for 9 o'clock, which is today, right?" And I responded
Hmm.
with, "Okay, cool." And our haircuts are at 8 o'clock. So she mentioned that to the boys, and when I got home, really, Dad, 8 o'clock? Are you serious? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Look, man, I understand you hate haircuts, but this is bullshit. It's time to get a haircut because we're gonna go to Cancun next week, right? So,
Uh-huh.
in a week from today, I would be in a freaking resort in Cancun. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? You don't have to fucking go. You know, because I'm tired of him complaining. I walked in and he's like snapping at me for haircuts. And I snap back. I'm like, you know what? You don't have to fucking go. But in 10 years from now, I don't want to hear you complaining that you look like shit in all your photos because your hair is messy. I don't want to hear that shit. So I snapped at him. And then I went in the room and I sat in my room. It was hot in there, but I was like, I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. And then my wife comes and tells me, "Hey, your brother's back." Oh, now I got to come out, right? And then my son's more calm, and he's like, "Dad, but I mean, like 8 o'clock, Dad." I'm like, "Are you thinking that 8 o'clock, like in an hour?" Yeah. No, kid, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So he kind of like, oh, okay. And then, so I hear him, like around 8 o'clock. I start playing Fortnite with my youngest and my brother. We start playing, and I can hear my son, my oldest Nick. He's in his room, and you can hear him laughing and giggling and
Hmm.
whatever. And I looked at the time. I'm like, is he talking to his friends, baby? He goes, yeah. Is that what he was? Is that what he's going to do at 8 o'clock? That's why he fucking snapped at me, like because he goes, yeah, 8 o'clock is his sessions with his friends. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah,
kids.
my kids just don't like her. My little one just does not like nobody touching his head, and he'd rather have long hair. And I'm like, nope, we're gonna get haircuts.
I told him the day that you can pay your own bills, you can pay for your own haircut. So if I pay,
Yeah.
and it's not even that bad. I let them pick their own hairstyle on top,
Hmm.
and I just have them fade the back. If
Yeah.
the top is too long, then we kind of trim it down a little bit. But they pick their one of them has a frohawk, you know, freaking hair. I'm like,
Yeah.
kid, you're going into high school, right? He goes, yeah. These kids are gonna eat you alive, bro. And he's like,
Hmm.
I'll think about a new haircut until then. Right now, I'll still take my okay, cool. And yeah, he spikes it up on top and calls it a day. And but yeah, no, the teenage years are crazy.
Yes, they are a lot worse now than they were then, I think, or maybe the times are just different. I don't know.
No, I like I tell them all the time too, like they do common sense, man. There is no common sense nowadays. Come on, kid.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I said it yesterday too. I'm like, common sense. You're supposed to save your progress when you're doing something on your computer. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah,
True.
no. Teenage years are crazy. Like I try not to snap at them. I try not to lose my shit. But yesterday, really, Dad? That's the first thing I hear when I walk in. 8 o'clock? Oh hell's nah, bro. We're gonna fight, bro. We're fighting. Any of those kind of encounters with your oldest before he moved out?
At first with my oldest, it was difficult because um I'm really close with my boys, and I didn't want him to go, but realizing that he needed to grow and keep doing what he was doing, and because he's going to be a firefighter, obviously, and I just have this thing where I want them close to me,
Right.
and
Oh,
so,
you're
but
one of those parents, huh?
yeah, yeah, I'm like, I built you a house by me, though, like you weren't supposed to go, like. It was kind of like a trick.
Yeah.
build him a little tiny house right next to ours. And I was like, yeah. Then he was like, Mom, I'm gonna move and get a little apartment, but son, you have a little house here. But he was like, no, I want to move. And I guess he just felt trapped and still wanted to be on his own. So, and I don't know if it had to do with his girlfriend or not, but they're not together, which is good.
We just spoke we spoke on Monday or Tuesday about
Uh-huh.
this.
Remember I told you about that whole situation? And and so I was like, I'm just going to let it happen and see what happens. And so he called me within, I think, a week when we spoke.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mom, I ended it. He goes, don't make a big deal out of it. I'm like, well, why am I going to
After
make a
you
big deal out
hung
of
up,
it?
you were fucking celebrating, weren't you?
Well,
Kinda.
I kind of felt bad, but I try to have empathy for her as well and try to understand, but then realize that men do go through a lot of mental emotional abuse, and they don't realize it. And he finally realized it, how much he was being controlled.
Right.
So he wasn't allowed to have friends, even as boys. Like, he wasn't allowed to talk to his friends, allowed to talk to none of his school friends. He wasn't allowed to be on the phone. He had to be on the phone at a certain time. There's just so many rules. And I think he finally realized it, like seeing what his mom was seeing this whole time.
Right.
And it was like, I think it was just like he saw the light.
You know what? It's a trip, because that's the same thing that happened with me in my first relationship. Was I couldn't talk to my friends. I couldn't, I quit school. I was going to college and I quit going to school because of you're not doing that. You're not, there's probably bitches there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a public school. It's not an all boys school,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, I grew up the same way. So, I just didn't open my eyes, and I mean, by the time I did, it was too late. But yeah, no, I know what he's going through.
Yeah, it was difficult. They were together for like 4 or 5 years. That's a long time for him. He's not even 20.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
So yeah, so it's his first, first what, middle school sweetheart or whatever, or high school sweetheart, whatever you want to call them
yeah,
nowadays. And so to get out of I guess, toxic relationship is really hard for anybody nowadays to get out of. So I
yeah,
was like extremely happy for him, to the verge of tears, because that's something that I couldn't do when I was in one. And I was like, oh my gosh, my son actually did it. I was so happy. And so yeah, just so he's growing up. He's also growing up. He moved out, got his own apartment. He'll be a firefighter soon. Got out of the toxic relationship and is dating. Went on a date yesterday. I was like, go on all the dates you want,
yeah,
son. Go for it.
yes. Don't fall for
I
the
go,
first one to bat their
yeah,
eyes towards you.
yeah, I go explore life. I was like, hang
Yeah.
out I tell people, have fun with your friends,
Just don't bring me
enjoy.
grandkids.
Oh yeah, I told him.
It's too soon.
I told him. I was like, I'm not that type of grandma that you're gonna drop off them babies. I was like, nope, don't think so. I was like, I'm the grandma that y'all both come over and then y'all take her with you or him, whatever. I go, no,
And
no.
you
I
know
go,
what? And my wife's the opposite. My wife's the opposite. She's like, you can bring me all your babies. I'm like, fuck no,
nope,
no,
nope.
no.
You know why? You know why I say that? Because when you've been a caregiver for so many years, like when I take care of my grandpa, and we talked about my grandpa too that day, I took care of him for, gosh, I want to say 10, 15 years, somewhere around there. And then you have a special needs son that you're constantly having to take care of,
Right.
And I try to explain this to my son. I don't want to take care of anybody. I don't want to keep continuing taking care of more and more people constantly.
I said that.
And,
I said that a long time ago because my mom had 12 of us,
mm-hmm.
and I'm technically the oldest. So guess how many diapers I changed?
Yeah,
At
you were
5 years old. My
you're
brother,
basically a parent.
uh-huh. My brother who's here visiting right now, he was an infant and I changed his diaper and we're only 6 years apart. So,
Yeah,
so it's like, yeah, no, uh, I changed diapers from, what is it? We're talking 1998. I changed diapers all the way to what my kids 2000, I'm going to say 2009, 2010, 2011. That's a lot of diapers.
yeah, that is.
So my daughter, I had my cousin and his wife staying with us for a little bit, and my daughter was, maybe 15 years old, and she was changing my godson's diaper, and I fucking lost, Steph, I lost my shit. I didn't care who was in the room. I lost my Why the fuck is
Yeah.
she changing that diaper? Oh, fuck no. Oh, hells no. And then my cousin's wife was like, kind of like, oh shit, my bad, no, Andy, my bad. My wife said, Andy, no, what was the problem? Why is she changing that fucking diaper? And then my daughter's like, because I wanted to, but I don't want you to. No, that was like a fucking trigger to me.
Yeah,
I
that's
fucking
true.
lost my shit.
Yeah, and it happens because you weren't a kid. You're still a kid yourself, and you're constantly changing diapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Oh.
that's why.
But hey,
That's why.
I can change a mean diaper. You know what I mean? I can change a mean diaper. I've seen it all. I've seen all the colors.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're stuck taking care of your siblings constantly.
Yeah, but my wife's the opposite. She'll see a baby and that's it. She'll be like, oh my god, and the thing is that she has the magic touch. Like, if you can't get your child to stop crying, give the baby to my wife and watch. And
That's me, and I don't want it.
you have a gift, but you don't want it.
Yep. I don't know why they come and do that hand thing where they want me. I'm like, nope, not ready for it.
And so I had a traumatic event when I was 16 years old. It didn't happen to me. It didn't happen in front of me, but I held a baby, and this baby passed away a week later, or a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And I was only 16 years old. So, I got past it with my kids because they're my kids. But when somebody else tries to hand me their infant child, I'm like, Charlie, nope,
Yeah.
sorry. And the babies will be looking at me, and I'll be like, I look at them straight in the eyes, and I don't like babies. I don't like babies. And they don't know what the fuck I'm saying, and they're like
Yeah.
laughing or whatever, and they're trying for me to reach and grab them. No. And I've been with this family. I've been with my wife's family for 2012, so we're going on 11 years, right? On 4th of July weekend, that weekend before the 4th of July, my brother, my mom had 12 of us, so a different brother of mine's baby, the baby's grandma brought the baby so we can see her at the event. And so the baby's like, crying or whatever, so I actually picked her up. And two of my sister-in-laws looked at me like they look shocked because I'm holding a baby. Like, if they had their cameras out, they would have been to see this is real. And I'm holding the baby. I'm like, why are you crying, kid? Why are you crying? We're blood. We're family. Stop crying, kid. And then once I couldn't get her to stop crying, like a minute later, here you go. I'm done. I'm done. But yeah, no, it was shocking to my sister-in-laws that I grabbed the baby because I don't. I've actually, Elena, she's 7 now, 9 maybe. I'm not sure. She was maybe a year old, and she was staring at me for 5 minutes, just following me around. And I went, "What are you looking at?" So for 2 years, when she would see me, she would cry.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
I just don't. I'm not. I don't touch babies. I don't. I just. But my wife is the opposite. You can give her all the babies you want, and she'll hold on to them, and she'll put them to sleep and everything.
I mean, yeah, they're adorable and stuff. I'm just, I stick to chickens.
Yeah. Well, my son, he's about to turn, like I say, Nicholas. He's about to turn 16. He has that gift too because recently, the same. So I said Elena, right? Her little brother. He's got to be maybe 5. No, I'm sorry, 6, 7, maybe. He's a little one. Little tiny thing. He's a cool little kid, and And then he comes up to me. He's like, Tio Andy, ¿qué pasó, mijo? What's going on, buddy? How can I help you? He's like, do you want to be my Nino for my first communion? And I'm like, and I was shocked. I was like, you wait a minute, me? Like, I'm thinking the asshole of the family is being asked. And so in my head, I'm like, what? And I looked back at his mom, and his mom's like shaking her head. Yeah, he wants you to be his Nino. I'm like, what the fuck? All right. I mean, yeah, mijo, no problem. I got you. She goes, okay, cool. That way you can bring Nick more often. I was like, what the I look at his mom, and she shakes her head again. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, what's going on? He goes, yeah, he's asking you because you're Nick's dad. That way you have no excuse to not bring Nick over more often. I'm like, this little kid is using me. What the fuck?
They're good at that.
So yeah, no, my son Nick has that touch too. That now he's thinking about being one of those physical therapists for kids, the ones that come to your house and they, so he has that gift with kids. And like I said, for me to be asked to be someone's Nino because of my son, I'm sure by the time the kid finishes thing, my son will be 18. You can just pick my son, but I feel used. But he has that gift himself that I'm like, okay, kid, go for it. That's what you need to do. That's what you want to do. I mean, on last Sunday we had another one of my brother-in-laws. His baby turns 1, and I think in August, September. And they asked my son to go over and do a photo shoot because my son got into photography. And so he took his camera over there, and he's snapping away and taking pictures, making the baby laugh and everything. So I was like, yeah, my son has that same gift my wife has. So hopefully he does something good with his life. So I'm sure your son will, open his eyes one day and he'll be fine. That's the same thing I told my son. Mijo, you will get your heart broken, kid. You will get your heart broken. But instead of doing what Dad almost did and jump in front of a train, you're not going to do that. You will come talk to me. I will listen to you. I like that. I like the those sayings that you see all over the internet nowadays. I'd rather listen to you than attend your funeral. So I told my kid, you come talk to me. Come talk to me. So just be there for your son. Your son will come talking to you. They always need their mamas.
Yes,
they
and
always
we're real
need their mamas.
close.
That's good.
And I refuse to have a relationship like I do. Well, I don't have a relationship with any of my family, so, but I definitely keep that communication with my son, and we're very emotionally tied together too. And so we're like allowed to show emotions and feelings and, and love and stuff. So he calls me every day, and I like every day.
That's good. No, that's good.
Probably like 10 times a day and on FaceTime.
Oh, you're one of them too, huh?
Yeah.
I tell my wife, like, why do you have to call your mom every day? We just saw her like 10 minutes ago. Suegra. Like, I'm like, her sister called the other day, and I'm like, can your family just give us a break? So I'm that asshole. I'm telling you, I'm the asshole of the family.
Yeah, but, I really don't talk to a lot of people, but it's just my kids.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just like, can we just have our privacy for once? Can we just do our own thing? And you know what's funny is that when we do have those weekends where we don't have any family gatherings or anything, we do nothing. We just fucking sit on the sofa and watch TV.
You got to move to the country.
Right. Right. But the reason why you said earlier the family you had mentioned to me, because we were talking, and I like to get to know people before I bring them on. I don't want them to think that I'm a creepo and whatever. As well, I mentioned to you that I was the black sheep of the family, and you mentioned you were the black sheep of society.
Yes.
Is that what got you doing the TikTok videos? I know you talked about your grandpa a lot. You just mentioned them right now. One of your TikTok videos is what caught my attention because you were talking about your grandpa.
Oh, grandpa was also a black sheep of the family.
Oh, okay.
So when grandpa passed away, I took it really hard. And although it wasn't blood related, except that he was, my kid's grandpa, I took it extremely hard because he was really the only one who embraced who I was as a person and took me in as one of his own, basically adopted me.
Right.
So when he passed away in, was it May 9th of 2021, which was the day after my birthday.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital and he got sick. And so I was stuck in the hospital on my birthday. But that was like the anniversary of when my dad also had committed suicide. And so it was like a triple whammy on that weekend because it was like explosion of emotions.
Right.
And so I had to just focus on one thing. And then you got Mother's Day, which to me is just another dang day. But, I'm like, it's just another dang day. I'm a mother every day.
Right.
But, it's just seeing Grandpa and everything that he's done for me. And it was extremely difficult. And it's hard to explain how the type of person Grandpa was, because although Grandpa was a very smart man, he was in the Air Force, retired, he traveled a lot, stationed in Japan, United Kingdom. I mean, he did everything, and I think I looked up to him more than anyone I've ever did in my life. So I've never really had anybody to look up to.
Right.
So I never had a role model. So to have the man that I looked up to, my kids looked up to, and, I knew that he was going to pass away, it was like extremely difficult. And so, like I said, once he passed and we, had that all done with and had him cremated and stuff. And it took me at least a year and a half to grieve him. And I know I lost my dad. Everybody goes through grief a different way.
Yeah.
And I know I lost my dad, and I was young when I lost him. So I was like 6. I always felt a void when I was little with my dad, but I never really felt a true meaning of loss till I lost somebody who wasn't even blood related to me, but yet I felt like meant the world to me.
And that's why, and you had mentioned that on your TikTok video about your grandpa, and that's the reason that's what caught my attention to your videos, because you're talking about an individual that is not blood related to you, and it reminded me of me. I helped. My daughter was only 4 months old when I walked into her life, and to this day, I mean, I am her father, and even though she has not spoken to me in 2 years, but I'm still her father. And it's like it was good to hear that there are other people out there that I hear it more and more nowadays, that there are a lot of people out there that have raised either someone else's kid, or in your case, like a granddaughter. He raised you like a granddaughter. I have a friend of mine. I'm like, hey man, I haven't seen your daughter on your posts lately. Everything cool? And he was like, oh yeah, her mom doesn't let me see her anymore. I'm like, what? Get some custody, bro. And he's like, I can't. She wasn't biologically my daughter. And I was like, holy shit. No, I didn't believe that, because he's always posting, he's always hanging out with her, he's always taking her to eat, taking her fishing and stuff like that. He has the same picture that I have of my daughter holding a little fish that we caught off the pier. It's like, holy shit. And I got that same reaction when people heard my podcast in the beginning, where I was saying, the custody, how I ended up getting custody of my daughter. And the boys was easier, but my daughter was a little bit harder, but we still got it. They're like, a buddy of mine called me. Say, wait a minute, that's not your real daughter? I'm like, well, she's my daughter. She's just not blood. I mean, but she's my daughter. People were shocked.
Yeah.
Even in court, when we went to court, they're like, yeah, my witnesses went up there. It's like, I didn't even know, my wife, I didn't even know that this wasn't his real daughter until until we went to court.
Yeah, it's when someone really does care about you, they'll do anything for you, and I do believe that. And he did make me believe in a lot of things in myself.
Right.
Like he is, I don't know, he was an amazing person. Although his kids didn't attend his funeral, and
Wow, he
everybody
was
had,
really the black sheep, huh?
yeah, he and it's everybody has their personal reasons, but Grandpa, no matter what you did, his true colors showed in the end, because he always did for them, no matter what. Even though they did so many wrong things, he always did for his kids. No matter what, he always did for their kids.
Right.
And so he taught me, even though some people will always treat you bad, still try to do good in the end. And he, like I said, like, we weren't blood related or anything, but whenever he passed, he was, in the end, he was still mindful. He paid, like, he did everything. Grandpa was very smart. Let's just say that. He was a very intelligent guy, extremely intelligent. And so he was, when older people grow older, they do get stuck in their own ways.
Yeah.
So whenever it was his time to go, he wanted things a certain way. And whenever I found out he left certain things to me, he also left certain things to his kids still. And so even though they didn't communicate and they treated him poorly and stuff, he still left them with things that they probably, in my opinion, they didn't deserve because of how poorly they treated him. But it wasn't my place to say they didn't deserve it.
Right.
But in Grandpa's heart, it made him feel that he was still doing good before he left. And that taught me a lot.
Well, I mean, like, like I said, just watching your TikTok videos and you talking about your grandpa is like, this grandpa was this person was a good man. I mean, you even named your farm after him.
Yeah, I haven't put the sign up yet because I don't feel like it. I haven't had that closure yet. But yeah, I have the sign. I have a huge sign that has his, Papa Allen's farm, and I just haven't put it up yet.
Yeah, no,
but yes.
I mean, I didn't have a relationship with my grandpa because they moved to Texas, and my mom is the kind of person that she'd rather have your siblings fight each other and whatever. So she always told us these horrible things about them. Oh, they don't love us. They left. They took your brothers and blah, blah, blah. So I learned to hate my grandparents for a long time, and then 8 years later, there comes my little short grandma with my two big-ass brothers, walks to the front door and says, where the hell have you guys been for the past 8 years? I've been looking for you guys. I lost all respect for my mother that day. And so that day started with me having a relationship with my grandma. She was always home. She was she didn't work. My grandpa believed that she should be at home, and so you call the house and she was always home. He was a trucker. The only way to get a hold of him was through a CB radio, and well, that was hard. And so I didn't start having a relationship with him until he retired. And this is already I'm already in my mid-20s and only saw him really when he came down, or I called my grandma. He happened to be home, and I still remember the last conversation I had with him. He was venting about my brothers at home, and yeah, I didn't really have a grandpa in my life, and like I said, when he passed, I got a call from my grandma, and he says, hey, just letting you know that, Tony, she was calling Tony, not my husband or anything. Like Tony. Tony is sick, and he's gonna pass away. And so I drove from California, my very first time road trip. Got in a car, drove to my wife. You know, we were only together for what is it? Maybe not even a year. And she was like, "Let's go." And she funded the car rental, and we took off. And yeah, my grandpa he was wheeled in. They brought him back from the hospital, and they put him in his bed. And my grandma's like, mira, quien vino, look who came. And he was losing his memory. And you know who that is? And he responded, Poselandi, like all. And she's like, she walked away. See, he's gonna die stubborn. Like, dang. My grandma had no filter.
Yeah.
And she was like, see, he's gonna die freaking stubborn. And but I talked to him, and we were there with him for a little bit. My grandpa, he hugged Nicholas actually for the last time. Nick was the last person he hugged, and my grandma was like, I think he has like radiation in his body, so he can't really be touching anybody. And okay then. So so that was it. He hugged Nick, and that was it. And then I ended up getting home, so we drove back home. And the moment I pull into the gasoline station, my brother Danny calls me and says, "Hey, he's gone." And I remember breaking down in the gasoline station, just like, oh fuck, like shit. I called my baby's mom, "Hey, can you come pick up the kids? I'm right here at the gasoline station," because I didn't have full custody back then. So I'm like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm back in town. You can come grab the kids." I was a mess. And then it's a trip, because now it's like, my brother went to go visit. They're in Oxnard, California, so at the cemetery, and he went over there on Friday, I think. And I'm like, I made the joke, "Hey, are they still hanging out? Are they still hanging around?" Because they're on the, they're cremated. They're on the wall. He's like, "Yep, they're still there." So, but no, it sounds like your grandpa was a great man. And that's what caught my attention to your videos.
Yeah, he was good. They're both cremated right here in front of me, always staring at me.
Oh, you have them in the house?
Yeah.
So you can definitely do no wrong.
Yeah, always staring at me. He's always watching me. So, always there. Always feel his presence constantly. Make
That's
sure
good.
He's always watching me. He did say he will always watch me. So
yeah, around the times that my grandpa passed away, I was going through financial situations. The checks weren't as big, and the whole custody thing was being an issue financially. That maybe a couple of days that he passed away, he came into a dream of mine, and he told me, everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. Like, and that's all he said. I look back to then to now, financially, I'm still broke, but everything's all right. Everything is all right. It's funny because I told my grandma the next morning, Grandma, I think Pops came to visit me, and he told me that everything's gonna be all right. Ah, well, he never visits me. I'm like, oh, Grandma, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But you know what's funny? That she got mad because my grandpa never visited her, but yet she came to visit my wife when she passed. I'm like, what the hell, Grandma? You're my grandma. What do you mean? What do you mean? My grandma was telling you something? Yeah, she was talking to me in my dream. She came to visit me. I'm like, the fuck, man? I think it's payback because my grandpa never went to go visit her, so she's not visiting me now.
I believe that Grandpa visits us all the time. We always hear noises and stuff. And my little one always hears noises, and he was like, "It's Grandpa."
I know. It's sad. It's sad because our grandma passed away in December of 21, and then sadly my wife's grandma passed away 4 months later, almost to the T. And every time and she only lived like 3 houses down, so my wife always saw her grandma, and every time I'm in the garage, right? And I'll be like my wife. I'm in the garage, and my wife comes in here, and I'm like, I like to be a clown, and what do you want, woman? Come on, chingas, a ver qué quieres? I'm busy doing something, and no joke, she'll leave, but my wife's little music box in the back there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see those racks over there in the back. She has like 4 shelves. she has a music box on there. I'm right here recording a podcast, and I'm talking to my guest, and all of a sudden, I look back. The fuck? Her music box is going off. Okay, Grandma, I'm sorry. Grandma, I'm sorry. Abuelita, I'm sorry. I won't pick on Letty anymore. I'm sorry. And then we'll be it's a trip because our master bedroom will lock on its own. And it's like so yesterday, for example, when I got upset with my son, I went into the room, and my wife went and knocked. Like a couple hours later, she went and knocked on the door, and then I got up and I opened the door, and she's like, "What happened?" She's like, "Why did you lock the door?" I'm like, "I didn't." She said, "You didn't unlock it right now when you opened the door?" No, I just opened the door. And there's been times where I'll knock on the door, "Babe, why did you lock the door?" And I told you, it's your grandma. Your grandma's here, and she's locking the door. She doesn't like. She knows I don't like locked doors, and she locks the door. So, I believe it. I 100% believe it that they're present.
Yes, I know. Grandpa always cracked me up, though. He was a wine drinker too. I have his last 2 bottles over here too.
Oh.
And let me tell you, when I say he was a wine drinker, I would have to pour some in empty water bottles and measure it for him because he would finish at least 3 or 4 bottles a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, those big wine bottles.
Yeah.
So I would go over there and he would be drunk. and, like walking in his walker, still like drunk walking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Grandpa. Grandpa will have me lie to his doctor saying that he didn't drink.
Oh no.
Like he would have me lie all the time, and he'd be like, I only have one. What's that saying? 1 glass of wine, or
1 glass a day.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he would have me lie all the time, cover up. And once I had to bust him out of not a nursing home, but kind of, because he got really sick on pneumonia. Like he had me breaking rules for him all the time.
I love how you said. I love how you said I bust him out.
Yeah, I had to. Like he would get me in trouble. He would he just knew I guess I was the one, because I had the backbone all the time, and I would always talk crap, But still,
Yeah.
It's like he got pneumonia once. It's like you go to a nursing home to get better.
I don't think they really take care of you like they should. Yeah.
Exactly. So he ended up going because he broke his back. I guess it's a place where you try to get better. I don't know if it's a nursing home or a place where you just get.
It's like my grandma was in this place and they called it like rehab. I'm like, but she's not an alcoholic. She drinks Pepsi like there's no tomorrow, but she's not an alcoholic. Yeah, it's rehab. It's like a rehab center.
Like rehab center. And then he ended up getting pneumonia there, and they didn't listen to him, and he got so angry because he got fever, and Grandpa's the type that he gets really angry. He was in the military,
Yeah.
And so he was like, get me out of here. And so we busted him out of there and took off. We didn't sign papers. I'm like, oh my gosh, Grandpa, you're gonna get me in trouble. They're gonna call Adult Protective Services on me, and
I'm going to jail. I'm fucked.
Yeah. He was always telling me.
Yeah, I think I call it the thing about bones I hear in older people is that it takes a long time, or maybe even never heals. And my grandma ended up falling a few years ago, and she's a kind of person that likes to keep things to herself. So I lectured my brother that lives with her, and I ripped him a new one. I'm like, I don't give a shit if she says no. You tell me that she is ill, or she's sick, or she foul. Or if you don't, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass myself. And so he would tell me, he would notify me. Ever since then, hey, she doesn't. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna go tell her, hey, well, me dijo that you are doing this or this would happen. No, but at least keep me in the loop. And so she ended up, I guess, the bone never healed, so she ended up in this rehab. Like pretty much, she fell.
Yeah.
8 months later, she ends up in this rehab center because she's in pain. They find out that she has a broken bone, and every day, mijo, I want to get out of here. Mijo, I want to. Grandma, just listen to what they're telling you to do, Grandma. No, I can't. And you have like other kinds of people in there, like mentally ill people too.
Yeah.
And they're
Hmm.
screaming and they're freaking her out. And the lady, her roommate, doesn't want to watch the same novela she does. And it's like,
Yeah.
I think she complained more about her roommate than she did about the nurses. And,
Yeah.
and she was happy the day they moved her roommate. And, so then, she ends up back home and she's fine. So I went to go visit her in August of 21, saw her for a couple of days, and she hung out with the boys and they're watching novelas. And I told the boys, just go in there for half an hour, hang out with her. I understand you guys don't speak Spanish, but just go in there, hang out with her. I walk in there half an hour later and my grandma's laughing because my son, the little one, Julian, keeps counting how many times they say Mexico and how many times somebody cries. So every time, look, that's the 15th time someone's cried in the last half an hour. And my grandma understands English, so she was laughing at how many times. But the fact that they were in there hanging out with her and,
But that's what older people love. They love smaller kids, and I think that's why Grandpa hanged on for so long, because of my little one.
Right.
Well, because of the kids, but he enjoyed. I spent most of my life hanging out with Grandpa
there you go.
and Grandma before she passed. I took care of her until she passed, and then Grandpa. And it's like they don't like, a lot of people assume that older people like being by themselves. They don't like being by themselves. They love seeing the kids and they like being part of our world. And
I believe you.
And but it was really difficult for me to balance everything out. And, going back and forth to two houses. I was keeping up with one house and then keeping up with their house, and just constantly the back and forth. But it was a bittersweet whenever it was sad that he passed, but then it was kind of both, because it was such a long, like 16 years or so of going back and forth. And I gave a huge part of my life to them.
Right.
And time, like I said, time is everything. You can never get that back. Like he put me through school, and I finished school. He paid for all that stuff, and I finished school. He didn't have to, and it was a surprise, but I got my bachelor's degree with that. But then I ended up being a writer and, an artist, like I had told you that day.
Yeah.
But, I will always be so grateful for everything he's taught me and installed in me. And then I could, of course, put that into the kids. But, Grandpa has done so many things. And what's funny is a lot of older people don't get that attention, and so they do love like attention and kids.
I believe you. I was telling my brother, I'm like, what sucks about Grandma's passing is that she died alone.
Wow.
Like, it was like my sister on her way here to visit me stopped by to visit her at this rehab center, and my grandma was not having it because she was like, oh, I look like shit, and so so when we got the word that she had passed, she was technically alone. And like my wife's grandma, 4 months later, when they get the word, she is probably gone in the next less than 24 hours, her house was flooded with people, and it's like, that broke my heart. I'm like, fuck, man, my grandma died alone.
Yeah,
My grandma died alone, and it killed me, man. It's like, fuck, dude. But no, you're right. Like, example with my mother-in-law, my boys who are 14 and going on 16, they hear her voice and they're, grandma, and they run to her. I'm like, guys, you guys just saw her like 5 minutes ago at church, and like, grandma, and I'm like, dude, I didn't have all that. So sometimes to me it's like, oh God, here we go again. And that's why I do that with my family, my wife's family, when they call or whatever. I'm like, fuck, you guys just spoke an hour ago. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I didn't have
either.
that. Do I deep down inside like it? Yeah, I just don't admit it.
Yeah, I do. I loved it, and you know what? In Grandpa's eyes, those kids could do no wrong.
Yeah.
No wrong.
Yeah, I was grandma's favorite, and then I said that in front of my brother one day, and oh yeah, no, hands down, you were. I'm like, all right, cool. Cool.
And you know, and then I think about it, and I'm like, even though Grandpa was not the greatest dad either, you know, he wasn't, but he still could see his kids as not, even though he, you know, money's money, you know, money can't replace all the things that you did wrong, even as a parent, but it still shows some type of appreciation and care for them, and still that he still remembered them as being part of him, even though they weren't around.
Right.
So, I mean, just things like that is, you know, he's taught me lots of life lessons. And so that's why, going back to the farm, you know, I named it after him. He's been the whole, yeah, he's been a huge part of my life. So, and not even part blood related, which is crazy.
Which is the best part in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's the best part in my. That's the best part. That's what caught my attention on your videos.
Yeah.
And
And you know,
I hit follow on people. Hopefully they follow back, so I can let them know, dude, your grandpa was amazing.
yeah, I try to follow people back, genuine followers. I'm very the black sheep of society, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you told me that.
I try to follow genuine, authentic people back who really are kind of like me, most kind of, you know, and I try to grow with them as they're trying to grow too, and so I'm just not about the whole, you know, validation, and I don't need the hearts and the likes, and you know, that's probably a different topic, but you know.
And yeah, no, I've been asked, like, dude, you've been doing your podcast for over 2 years. Have you not seen any money? No, because I'm not doing it for money. It's a hobby. I've actually was itching last week. Who can I get on? I want to do a podcast. And
Yeah, that's the way I am too. Even with my books, my son will ask me, "Have you made any money?" I don't care. I was like, I don't care. It's like, I don't even post them up all the time, or, you know, I mean, when people remind me, I will, but, you know, I did it because I had so many emotions, you know, and you do things because it's good self-therapy. And that's one thing Grandpa taught me a lot of self-coping skills and self-therapy, and be more outspoken without feeling the need to feel as though you have to belittle yourself because people are going to look at you weird.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
And
and
so,
that's why I say in one of my like promo or the advertising of the podcast, I say it's a good therapy session.
hmm
And I mean, it's not like I'm trying to be Dr. Phil with you guys. I'm just letting you talk, letting you get stuff off your chest. And I'm like I said, I had one of my guests was on here 5 episodes straight, and one of them she's crying, and once we turned off the microphone, she told me thank you. She said I needed to get that off my chest. And some people hold stuff in, and that's even recently. I told my mother-in-law, Suera, you can't hold things in. You gotta let them out. I want to see you. I
yeah,
want to see you angry once in a while.
yeah. Well, you know what? In those generations, like in my mom's generations, they didn't. I don't. I'm pretty sure that they weren't. They didn't express their emotions like a lot of us are trying to do now.
They weren't allowed to. It was showing.
Yeah.
It was like showing weakness.
And it caused a lot of trauma for our generation. And now in our generation, we're like self therapy. We don't need validation. We're doing all this meditation and coping skills, and we're breaking out of it and finding out who we are as a person. And so we don't need none of that trauma crap anymore.
Yeah. No, and my wife said that when she saw. I mean, I still throw my tantrums. I'm still a little kid inside sometimes. I have a lot of, trauma from growing up and stuff that just running late, I fucking lose my shit. And so I still have to work on it. But it's like she noticed that when I started doing my podcast, I've mellowed out a little bit, and 'cause I come on here with people that have similar situations, similar stories, and yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a good therapy session. People have told me all the time, like it's like me coming to your podcast was good therapy. I'm all right, cool, and if we can teach someone something new and let them know that they're not going through it alone, and there's other people that have it, that similar situation that you're going through. I mean, people hear my story and they're like, oh shit, maybe I don't have it that bad.
Yeah. Look, Grandpa taught me a lot of patience, okay? And I don't want to do politics or anything, but Grandpa was a Democrat, okay? And I am a Republican. So me and Grandpa were constantly fighting with each other. And he would sit there and watch his news every night. And guess what I had to do with him? Sit there and watch it with him. Every night I had to sit there and watch his news with him. And he would be looking at me like, see? And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have to go through this hell again, Grandpa? Really?
There's two examples that I use, and when I'm explaining to people, do you want to know when you know you're old? One, your pantry turns into a mini pharmacy. Two, you start watching the news. My son, she's shaking her head. My son walked in one day. He comes into the living room, and I'm up early. It's 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm not recording a podcast. So I'm just turn on the news, and I'm watching the news, and my kids walk into the living room, and they're like looking at me, looking at the TV, looking at me, the TV. Dad, that's for old people. Like, what the hell?
Look, I don't watch any TV whatsoever, not even the news. And my kids are like, Mom, you don't watch no TV whatsoever. I was like, no, I don't watch TV. I read, I write, I spend time outside.
Yeah.
I just learning to unlearn a lot of things that we've been taught when we were in school or whenever we grew up, and things that just did not make sense
Right.
at all. And so I am just unlearning all those toxic behaviors that my kids don't need to learn.
Of course.
For me.
No, of course. Yeah.
Because I'm still learning, and I'm 40. So,
oh, trust me, I'm right there with you. I'm 41, and I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think we can never learn enough from one another,
Right.
and we learn from our kids too. So, and we learn from older people. I learn a lot from older people my age. I love listening to older people.
There was this. I just recently used this example. I was in my 20s, going through hell and back, and almost homeless, and doing this. I didn't have a job for 2.5 years, and I had a buddy of mine, Frank, who also passed away recently. He asked me if I wanted to go help him paint, and trust me, I fucking hate painting. But I walked into this house, beautiful house, and they had this massive, I'm gonna say, 2x10, like picture frame on the wall, and it said I don't remember exactly every statement, so I'm just gonna kind of like eyeball it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first one, when I was 5, I learned that bugs were disgusting. When I was 7, I learned that girls were yucky. When I was 15, I learned that, whatever you learn at 15. But the one that stuck out the most, that said, when I was 95, I learned that I had a lot to learn. And it had like maybe 20, 30 different examples of what he learned at what age. But at 95, he learned that he had a lot to learn.
Yeah, and that's true. And Grandpa taught me that too. Like he will always be learning something. He always read the newspaper, or he always wanted to know something. And I always drew stuff on his mirrors every night in his bathroom.
Uh-huh.
So I always, with magic marker, I always drew like his, like Hillary Clinton and stuff, or like quotes.
You monster!
I know. I did things for him out of love, even though I did not like it. But I did funny little quotes for him.
Well, my grandma was a hardcore 49er fan, and I walk in her house for the first time in we're talking 9 years, 8 years, wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey, and she tells me, "Back up, Satan, back up."
That was me and Grandpa. I would be wearing something Republican, and he'd be like, just staring at me. He was like, "Where did you get that from? What trash can did you get that from?" Or he'll say something smart, and he could talk crap. He can talk crap, boy. I'm telling you, he had a backbone too, but he also was extremely patient with me. Like, he was so patient with me, and it was like he was my grandpa one day, but then kind of like father-like, which is different from being a grandpa.
Right.
So father-like was when he was like, okay, you need to do this and be more, control yourself, because I had anger issues too. So he'll teach me to kind of like calm down, be cool. He always say, be cool, be cool. That's how it would be like, be cool. Because I would do it too. He always taught me to just like chill out, it'll be okay, everything will work out. He always told me that, like, everything's gonna work out. And so when something's not working out, I could hear his voice all the time. And before he even passed, he'd like pat my head like that, like a little child, and he'd be like, everything's gonna be okay. So I always remember that when things aren't going.
Yeah, the same phrase my grandpa said in my dream: everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah, everything's gonna be okay all the time. And so I remember things like that, just little sayings like that. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forget certain things that he has said. And they always pop up every now and then, pop up here and there. Because, when I was going through that grieving process, I think I kind of like black out certain things,
Right.
whenever you just kind of want to just not remember certain things. So yeah, it was difficult for a while there, but I told you I have a child with special needs.
Yes.
And so being the black sheep of the family, and how I don't have no connection with my brothers or sisters because I'm the middle child of 5, of course, and I don't speak to any of them, and all that stuff, all that boring stuff. But my son, who has special needs, has Williams syndrome. And I do believe that God does things on purpose. And he gave me a child.
That keeps you distracted from all that bullshit.
Well, he has a syndrome that he loves more.
Ándale, karma.
Exactly. It's like, it's bitter and sweet too, because it's like, sometimes I can't have a bad day because here comes that, like, he's all happy and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he's so happy. And I'm like, oh, I can't.
You know what? We could be siblings. You know that? We could be siblings. I could be in a bitchy mood, and there comes my boys. Hi, Dad, and they want to hug. And then my 14-year-old wants to hold my hand in public. Like, we're at Target, and he holds my hand, and I'm like, kid, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. And like, Dad, you don't have any friends. So, yes, I'm anti-lovey-dovey, and I hear my kids are trying to hold my hand in public. I'm like, oh my God. So I know we could be related.
Yeah, well, and his syndrome, they have the extra dose of oxytocin that we don't have.
Right.
And so no matter what's going on, he's always going to have a good day. And so I'm like, I wish I could have that, like that extra oxytocin, that God gave him. And so it's like that extra boost every time I see him. He's just always so happy, It's like he's always so happy, and I'm like, oh.
It's funny you said that. I wish I had that, because my wife said the same thing one day. So I had a friend of mine call me, and I've known this kid since he was like 1, and he called me one day. Hey man, I can't get a hold of my mom. Have you heard from her? I'm like, no, kid, I haven't. So why can't he get a hold of her? I'm very nervous. I'm panicky. I don't know what to do, because his mom moved to TJ. So he lives in California. Mm-hmm. He lives in South Central California, and she moved to TJ. And I haven't heard from her. And I'm like, all right, well, if I hear from her, bro, I'll let you know. And this is like 10 o'clock at night. I'll let you know, bro, and then we'll go from there. He goes, okay, man, thank you. I hang the phone up. I face the phone down so no more light wakes me up. And I go right to bed, Steph. I fell asleep. My wife, on the other hand, is nervous and freaking out and doesn't know what the fuck's going on with my friend. Or, she's like a mom to me. And she's up till 2 in the morning, Steph. And she tells me the next morning, I wish I had that. I wish I had what you have. What? No heart, I was up panicking. She said, I was up panicking till 2:00 in the morning while you're sleeping like a fucking baby.
That would be me. I would be asleep.
Yeah.
I would be asleep because I'm a hard sleeper sometimes.
Yeah. So
Well, I'll tell you. Go ahead.
no, go for it.
I was gonna tell you this story. I'll tell you a story about my wife real quick. She had heard one night something. You know, we live out on the farm, and we have lots of animals around here. And she heard a big noise in the carport.
Uh-huh.
And she woke me up, and she was like, "There's somebody at the carport. Somebody is in our carport trying to break in." And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Nobody could come in." And she's like, "Yes." She was very serious.
Yeah.
Like very serious and scared. And she's supposed to be the more, macho one, of course. And that's lies. I am. I'm actually the more one. But anyway, she's like under 4 foot, probably.
Oh.
And so, so I went out there and let me tell you, okay, we carry, okay, but we go out there with nothing. And I don't know what we were thinking, okay? We go out there. I think, you know what, honestly, I probably had a spatula or something. I don't know what I had. I don't know what I was thinking.
You walked out with the chancla.
Yeah. Out of everything we had. I opened the door and she was like, "No, there's something out there. The trash cans are banging." I see a huge raccoon running across. I'm like, "Megan, it's a freaking raccoon." I was like, later on, I'm going to show you a picture. I'll send it to you of what this raccoon could have looked like. I swear this thing was like a size of a baby bear with tennis shoes.
No
running.
Shit.
Yeah, it was huge. I named him Tom.
Oh, you name your animals too, huh?
Yep.
Oh,
I named my animals.
The thing I meant you name your random animals. That's what I meant, because my kids named the squirrels and shit.
Uh-huh. Boy, it was hilarious. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was a freaking raccoon. I was like, go to bed. Go to bed. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Well, it was nice having you on the podcast. Thank you for agreeing to be on. It was nice seeing that you have long hair.
Yeah. I always keep it up, right?
Yeah. You always hide it. And, you're more than welcome to come on whenever you want. You have other stories. You did say you have a lot of stories. You're more than welcome to come vent and get them off your chest whenever you want. Like I said, this is to you guys. I really I gave off my stories, so now I kind of let you guys give off your stories and vent and get it off your chest. And like I end every podcast. Stepheny, thank you for riding with me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And if you have any questions, you can let me know.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.